I always like sitting next to my wife as I listen to the gospel lesson, and she'll sometimes make intriguing noises about the torture. Right? We got to the torture part of the debtor, and she was like, yikes. And I was like, yeah, yikes. Today we're going to talk about something that is perhaps the most important aspect and practice of our life together as people of faith, and that is learning to let go. Forgiveness is really about letting go of the things that we think that we can control in life, including our own lives sometimes. Letting go and recognizing that the things that we were sure we could control by holding on tighter only slip through our grasp one way or another. To hold loosely, if you will, is part of our call. And this central piece, it's not so central anymore. We're at the sixth line here. We've only got 2 more to go. You can make it. I believe in you. You can make it through the next 2 weeks. And one of them is just kind of the doxology, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. But there's some good stuff in there we're going to talk about. Believe me. I'll find it and we'll have something to say about it in 2 weeks. But forgiveness is really core to who we are. Our understanding of our relationship with God is based on the fact that we believe God can let go of the stuff that we've done and that we repeat and keep on doing, sometimes with impunity. And we believe somehow in the midst of it all, God can let that go and let us be who God hopes we'll be. And in believing that, it becomes the core principle upon which Christianity is built. Our following Jesus is all about letting go. Jesus tells us things like, take up your cross and let go of your life. Let go of your life as the most important thing you have to protect, and trust that God will look after you. Last week we talked about trusting on a daily basis, the foundation of our relationship. Trust on a daily basis for what we really need. God can provide that. Maybe it's a word of encouragement, an insight about how we should live or not live, all those kinds of things we can trust God to provide. This week we have to figure out how to release the things that hold us. Because if we really are honest about the things that we're called upon to forgive, the other person may have completely forgotten them already. It's us that are holding on to them so tightly. And they are beginning to affect the way we see ourselves and the world around us by the things that we hold so tightly onto inside of ourselves. And if you think that forgiveness is easy, you should probably be the one preaching this sermon. I just really want you to know, because I will tell you that I was surprised recently. I was at a dinner with some folks, really cool folks. We were eating dinner, we were talking to each other, we were sharing about our families, getting to know each other better. And we started talking about our children, always an important thing to talk about. And I remembered a story from when Josh was in 4th grade. Josh is my son. And if anyone who was at that table remembers, the look on my face was not one of a forgiving, loving, pastoral, Jesus-following person. When you do something to my son that I find reprehensible, and it's in the school system where I've told him he could trust adults to protect him, and they don't, then something visceral happens inside of you. Something ugly happens inside of you. And I thought it was all past. I thought I had let go of it. But the more I talked about it, the more I could just touch that raw nerve inside of me. It was still there. Josh is 29 years old. He's not in 4th grade anymore, and he could take me. Don't tell him I said that. Hopefully he's not watching today. But I still see that little boy who was being bullied in school. And there is a part of me that is still letting go of that. So if you believe forgiveness is a snap your fingers kind of thing, I got bad news for you. It is not. Some things you can forget right away. Somebody steps on your toe, and provided it didn't break or you're not bleeding out, You know, you can probably just move on from that. It happens every time I go to the metro. Somebody steps on my foot. You would think I would either learn not to go to the metro, which I'm not going to give up on, or to avoid people with feet. But I don't think that's possible. It's just not possible. So the truth is, those things I can just let go of. But there are things that hurt us to the core of who we are. Maybe like when our best friend doesn't want to be our friend anymore. And that hurts us. And we learn to move on beyond it, live through the apology, become friends again. But it's never quite the same. It's never quite the same because it's still there somewhere inside. You can see it in people's eyes when they tell the stories of the things that have been done wrong to them or that have been done wrong to people that they love. When they begin to when you see the rawness of what is still in their eyes, you know letting go is hard work. It is probably the hardest work of being a follower of Jesus. It's harder than coming to church every Sunday, even when it's 12 degrees. It's harder than preparing the sermon was. Some people wonder how much preparation went into it. You know, those kinds of things. It's harder than any other thing you'll learn to do in life, is to let go of the things that hurt you or hurt people you love. It's maybe the hardest thing you'll ever have, but it is one of the most important, if not the most important practices we need to develop as people of faith, is learning to let go, to hold loosely the things that we want to hold so tightly to. I don't want to be holding on to Josh's fourth grade self, wanting to reach across the table as school administrators and teachers were arrayed on the other side, school counselors, and choke some of them. I don't want to feel that way anymore. But in that moment, when I told the story at that table, after a beautiful meal too, it was delicious, it was sitting nicely in my stomach, and suddenly I could touch that pain. And you see, that's the pain of the God of the universe. You know, God was in that pain with me. God feels that pain with me now. God might have let it go because God's big that way. But I am still practicing and learning. And I'm not always great at it. You know, I've just given an example. Josh's fourth grade self is long gone. Josh's 29-year-old super big guy self is there. But I still see that little face who looked to me as his father to kind of protect him. And I failed. So it wasn't just about forgiving. It's probably less about forgiving them than forgiving myself for not realizing what was going on. Do you realize how many levels of forgiveness there are? I can let go of things people do to me sometimes, but then I can't let go of the things I do with myself. That I wasn't responsible enough to stand up in a moment when God needed me to stand up. I wasn't willing to speak up in a moment when I could have made a difference. I wasn't there when my son needed me in the fourth grade. Those feelings of not being there eat at us. And forgiveness is not just about the other person. It's about ourselves. We are the very, very worst at forgiving ourselves. We are stinking good. Well, maybe not even that good at forgiving others, but we're a heck of a lot better at forgiving others than we are about forgiving ourselves. Guess what? The Lord's Prayer is an invitation for us to pray every day. The Lord's Prayer, I know we do it. It's a big deal. We do it on Sunday morning. We do it at the beginning of we try to set the tone of worship here. You've been praying the Lord's Prayer near the beginning of worship for I don't know how long, maybe 3 weeks before I came, but I know you've been doing it every week I've been here. I don't know how long you've set this up, but this is really, the Lord's Prayer is meant to be a part of your daily life. I think there's an assumption built into the way Jesus taught us to pray, and that is, you're going to mess up. I'm going to mess up. It is the way we are made. We're all going to trip up, and some of them are going to just be little trip-ups. I remember the time I made the cornbread and I forgot to add sugar. My family looked at me like I had made poison for them with the chili. What is this? This is not cornbread. I said, yes, it is. It's just not sweet cornbread the way you like it. Put some sugar on top of it and be quiet. Be happy you have food. Maybe I wasn't quite that. I was probably very apologetic. Still haven't forgiven myself for not putting sugar in that one. Cornbread, what? 20 years ago. I still remember it. This is bad. This is, yeah, you see how, don't follow my example. Do as I say, don't do as I do. You see how hard this forgiveness thing is? This letting go of the things that hold on to us and keep us from being the full human being God always imagined we'd be. Because we're holding on to something that happened, that we did wrong 20 years ago. I want to tell you, I have sat with people who are still wringing their hands over something they did when they were a teenager. And they're in their 80s or 90s. I wish I had never said that. Well, you can wish all you want. It's done. Can you possibly let go of it? You've already let go of whatever happened at that place, but you haven't let go of your own sense of guilt about it. That you hurt another human being. It's bad enough when we are hurt, but when we knew we were instruments of hurting somebody else, we don't do that well. We don't take that well. And it's hard. It's hard. So we have these two stories. One about indebtedness that Sandy read for us from the Gospel of Matthew. And it has some harsh feeling to it that we have, God has let go of so much in our lives, so many ways that we've broken God's trust. And then somebody comes along and breaks our trust in little ways, and we can't seem to let go of it. Don't we wish we could be more like God? And I think that that's the model Jesus set out for us. Jesus showed us what a human being would look like who was a little bit more like God than we could ever imagine. I know, a lot more like God than we could ever imagine, but if God is like that and can let go of our stuff, even on the cross, look at the very people who are crucifying him and say, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. Think how tangled our relationships are. The actual Aramaic words, we're not going to spend a whole long time on here. The very first word that we translate as forgive, it's about release. It's about letting go. It's about holding lightly. You know, I don't know, for some of you who were here, you might not even remember it. I remember looking out at you all while we were doing the confession prayer. And at the end of the confession prayer, I said, hold your fists tight and then open them and let go. I wonder how many things you're still holding on to tight about mistakes that you've made as a person, mistakes that have been made against you as a person. How many of those things are you holding on to tight? Can you imagine what it would look like to open up your hands and let them go? The words that were said in anger, in a moment of frustration, that you said or were said to you, and somehow have shaped who you think you are. You know, I can hear some of those words in my life that have been said to me, and I know how deeply they cut. The fourth grade teacher who told me I was stupid. In a moment of anger, she was angry. She was angry about the unruliness of the classroom, and I just happened to be the closest target. I'm not stupid. I'm kind of bright. I can't live by the one word that teacher said to me in fourth grade. Teachers don't do that very often. They're usually much better at that. That teacher, in fact, I told someone recently who knew that teacher and were like, oh my gosh, she never behaved like that. I said, no, she didn't very often, but there was that one day. There was that one day. There are things that we let hold on to us. And forgiveness is learning to hold them lightly and let them go. I want you to know something, though, that's important about forgiveness, the release. It's not ever saying that the thing that was done to you was right. To forgive is not saying, oh, you were okay to do that. Hit me again. Or say something ugly to me again. It's not permission. It's your letting go of the thing that you have let shape some way that you see yourself or that you see the world around you. I'm going to let that go. I refuse to hold on to a hot coal that is burning my hand because it doesn't seem to be doing anything to the other person who said it or did it. I've got to let it go. Forgiveness, I need to say one thing that's not even in the text, but it's very important. I used to teach a forgiveness seminar about 6, 7 weeks, where we sat down together and we worked through what forgiveness is. It is not reconciliation. Forgiveness with God is reconciliation. Forgiveness with your neighbor. If somebody has done something heinous to you, you may never be able to be in relationship with them again. Forgiveness is not saying just go back to the way that it was and it's all right. It's saying I can't hold on to this because it will destroy me from the inside out. It will destroy me. Like Josh's 4th grade bullier. We have to learn to let go. And it is hard. It is hard. I'll say it one more time. It is hard. So many things have shaped us and continue to shape us because we're holding tight to them. The posture of a follower of Jesus in our best moments, is letting go. Letting go. If you've been slighted, if you've been hurt in any way, big ways and little ways, letting go. It is hard work. Maybe one day down the road, if there's any interest, I'll be glad to teach the forgiveness seminar all over again. Where we sit down together as a group and we just talk through the things that hold on to us and some tools by which we can try to let them go. If that's something that anybody's ever interested in, you should let me know that you're interested in that, and we'll try to put that on the calendar someday in the future. Forgiveness is not easy, but it is a core piece of what we're called to do as followers of Jesus. Forgive us our debts. And the Aramaic Christians who continue to pray the Lord's Prayer also add "and sins," as we forgive at the same time, in the same way, in the same flow that you forgive us. We want to be in that same flow of letting go ourselves. Sin in Aramaic is rooted in the word for tangled threads. If you are a person who sews or crochets or does any of those things, if you get a tangled thread in there, it is mess. I read a story about weavers in the East who, when they weave, they just tangle something in the very beginning so that it's out of the way. So they're not worried about some kind of false perfection. But our lives are woven together in beautiful ways and sometimes tangled ways. And we'd like to let go of those tangles so that we can live more peacefully and lovingly with one another. And it is hard work. So, go and do the hard work. That's your job. That's your assignment this week. Seriously, your assignment this week. My assignment this week. Maybe I need to just deal with this 4th grade Joshua thing in my head that still keeps coming up. Find that thing that you find yourself still holding on. It probably won't even be very hard. Close your eyes for just a moment. What is that thing you're holding on to in your life that has been held on to long enough? Imagine it in your fist right now being held. and release it. It won't be once for all. You'll be releasing it over and over again for the rest of your life. That's why we pray this prayer every day. Forgive us our trespasses, forgive us our sins, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. It's because every day it is a practice. Keep practicing. You will never be perfect. Sorry. But maybe you'll get better, stronger, more able to let go. Because that's what faith is. Learning to let go. There was a lot more I had to say, but I'm not going to say it all because, otherwise you'd be here with me the rest of the day. And, there's like a Super Bowl, other kinds of things happening. The youth are walking, driving to Paris Baguette. What is it about walking? It's just a little chilly out there. Okay, we're driving to Baguette. So there are things to do, and I think I've given you enough to think about. I've been producing these on a weekly basis. For some of you, I know they're very helpful. And for some of you, they aren't. And that's okay, too. We have one for this week. I've even learned to shorten it into a one-page, front of the page document. And then on the back is review. See, look at this. You can review. If you missed a week, review. There you go. There will be a test. And the test is life. And the test is life. I'm going to invite you to stay in your seats and just take a moment to hold whatever it is that is holding you in your hand.